5 years in August. I don't miss a day, a month, go and bring flowers. I had to bury what they found.
This is the landfill where investigators spent hours searching through mountains of garbage after someone made a discovery too horrifying to ignore. They weren't looking for a weapon. They weren't looking for drugs. They were looking for the rest of a missing man. This wasn't just another homicide investigation. Police are standing outside an apartment where a woman claimed her boyfriend had simply disappeared. Days later, detectives would discover they weren't searching for a missing man anymore. They were piecing together one of the most disturbing murder cases Baytown, Texas had ever seen. And the same woman who comforted Stephen Coleman's grieving family, cried with them, and insisted she had no idea where he had gone, already knew the answer. Stephen Coleman wasn't a celebrity with platinum records. Around Baytown's hip-hop scene, people knew the 32-year-old independent rapper as Slim Dadon, a hard-working artist who was trying to build a future through his music. But before he vanished, Stephen quietly told a close friend, "If anything ever happens to me, look at Sierra first." It sounded like the kind of thing people say after another argument. Nobody imagined those words would soon become the most haunting clue in the entire investigation. When Stephen disappeared during the night of August 16, 2017, his loved ones feared the worst. They searched, made calls, and pleaded for answers. Then, just 2 days later, the search took a horrifying turn when investigators began recovering human remains from dumpsters scattered across Baytown. But before we get to the landfill discovery that would change everything, we need to go back and understand who Stephen Coleman really was. Because before he became the victim at the center of a horrifying investigation, born on April 5, 1991, in Baytown, Texas, Stephen grew up in a community where hard work wasn't optional, it was a way of life. Like many young people around him, he dreamed of building something bigger than the streets he called home. For Stephen, that dream wasn't sports or business, it was music. As he grew older, music became more than just a hobby. It became an escape, a purpose, and eventually, an identity. Under the stage name Slim Dadon,
I know you're tired of the lies and disguises. They ain't riders, them niggas just ride dick, yeah. See me, I make live hits, yeah. That word to the wise shit, yeah. I work to provide Miss Sanaya with whatever she desire. My firstborn, know your daddy going lurk for it and bring it home. Soul music keep me hanging on. I'm about to lose grip with these clowns false preaching on the pulpit. Take a seat round. Real know it's on. So y'all call that fake shit real, know you're wrong. I'm appealing your songs, nigga, with a jury full of niggas that done it. 100. If not, don't run it. Don't run it, man.
Where can I find you?
Stephen spent years trying to carve out his own place in Texas's competitive independent rap scene. He wasn't signed to a major label. He wasn't selling out arenas, and his songs weren't climbing the Billboard charts. But that didn't stop him. If anything, it pushed him to work even harder. Every mixtape was released on his own. Every studio session was paid for out of his own pocket. Every music video, every collaboration with local artists, and every late-night recording session was another step toward the future he believed he could build. Slowly, people began to notice, not because he was flashy, not because he chased controversy, but because his music felt real. Stephen wasn't pretending to be someone he wasn't. His lyrics reflected the life he actually lived, the struggle of making ends meet, the pressure of chasing success, the victories that felt enormous, even when no one else noticed them, and the constant hope that tomorrow would be better than today. To the people who listened, there was an honesty in his music that couldn't be faked.
More of a block star, got balls, so much Lawrence ecstasy, aka lockjaw. And what I don't got, I ride for. I don't need no nigga to vouch for it, as long as I know it real. Cartel, old silence is the code of honor. That's why I'm hollering, I don't know Yana.
That wasn't just another lyric. It was Stephen's philosophy. He didn't need approval from strangers or validation from the music industry. As long as he believed in what he was creating, that was enough. But while music occupied much of his life, it wasn't the only thing that mattered to him. Behind the scenes, Stephen had something many independent artists lean on when the road gets difficult: a family that believed in him. At the center of that support system was his mother, Cora Coleman. She wasn't simply his biggest fan, she was his sounding board. Whenever Steven finished recording a new song, she was often one of the first people to hear it. He valued her opinion, trusted her advice, and wasn't afraid to ask what she really thought. Whether the conversation was about music or life, Cora was always there to encourage him while keeping him grounded. His brother played an important role as well. The two shared a close bond, and through every setback and every small victory, Steven knew he had someone standing beside him. For a long time, Steven experienced rapid growth with his music hitting over 15,000 views and counting. He was pouring his savings, his sweat, and his sleepless nights into his upcoming professionally produced EP, aptly titled Finally Rising. The project was designed to be his definitive breakout statement, a sonic diary chronicling his struggles, his growth, and his refusal to stay down. Tragically, the irony of that title would become a devastating footnote, and as Steven's local profile grew, the pressure began to fracture his domestic life. Several years prior to his death, Steven had entered a relationship with 30-year-old Sierra Sutton, who had originally moved to Baytown from Louisiana along with her 10-year-old daughter. They lived in an average apartment in Baytown, mostly just because it was close to the recording studios where Steven spent his late nights. But what looked like a normal home was actually a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. To get facts straight, people who knew Sierra said she was crazy insecure, dealing with intense jealousy and wild mood swings, and those exact red flags had already wrecked her past relationships. Even neighbors said the couple have been seen fighting several times before. For a while, it looked like everything was finally coming together for Steven. After years of grinding in the underground music scene, he could finally see the progress he had worked so hard for. Every dollar he earned was poured straight back into his dream. He spent his savings on studio time, invested in better production, and sacrificed countless nights of sleep, perfecting every lyric and every beat. This wasn't just another mixtape. Steven believed this project would change everything. He called the EP Finally Rising. The title couldn't have been more fitting. To Steven, it represented years of struggle, disappointment, and persistence. It was his way of telling the world that no matter how many obstacles had been placed in front of him, he had refused to give up. Every song reflected a different chapter of his journey, the setbacks, the lessons, and the hope that his biggest opportunity was finally within reach. He truly believed he was on the verge of something special, but looking back now, that title carries a heartbreaking irony. Because just as Steven felt his life was finally beginning to rise, everything around him was quietly starting to fall apart. As his music career slowly gained momentum, the pressure didn't stay inside the recording studio, it followed him home. Several years before his death, Steven had started a relationship with 30-year-old Sierra Sutton, who had moved to Baytown, Texas, from Louisiana with her young daughter. Like many couples trying to build a future together, they settled into a modest apartment in Baytown. The location made sense. It was close to the recording studios where Steven often spent long nights working on his music, making it easier for him to chase his dream while still coming home afterward. From the outside, they looked like any ordinary couple trying to make life work. But appearances can be deceiving. According to people who knew Sierra, the relationship was anything but peaceful. Friends described her as deeply insecure, often overwhelmed by jealousy and sudden mood swings. They claimed those same issues had caused problems in her previous relationships long before she met Steven. As time went on, the arguments between the couple became more frequent. Neighbors would later tell investigators they had witnessed heated confrontations between Steven and Sierra more than once. Some said the arguments spilled out of the apartment and into the parking lot, where everyone could see them.
They were like in the middle of the parking lot, kind of, and he had her pinned down.
Pinned down on the ground, what was he doing?
He had a belt around her neck.
However, no one knew just how close this troubled relationship was to reaching a tragic breaking point. As Steven's music career slowly began to take off, the problems inside his relationship only grew worse. The more attention he received from female fans online and at local performances, the more insecure Sierra became. According to court documents, Sierra struggled with intense jealousy. Every new opportunity, every message on social media seemed to fuel another argument. Those closest to Steven would later reveal that he had quietly started opening up about what was happening behind closed doors. He told friends he felt trapped in the relationship. Walking away no longer felt simple. In fact, he admitted something that, in hindsight, sends chills down the spine. He said he was genuinely afraid that if he ever tried to leave, Sierra might do something drastic. At the time, some hoped those fears were simply the words of a frustrated young man caught in a toxic relationship. No one imagined they would become a horrifying warning. Looking back, Stephen had plenty of reasons to leave. The constant arguments, the jealousy, the emotional strain, the growing feeling that something wasn't right. But Stephen wasn't the kind of person who gave up easily. The same determination that kept him chasing his music career also kept him trying to save a relationship that was slowly falling apart. He believed people could change. He wanted to help Sierra work through her struggles instead of abandoning her. Sadly, that decision would cost him everything, because by August 2017, the tension inside the apartment had reached a breaking point. On the night of August 16, another argument erupted between the couple inside their Baytown home. No one knows exactly what started that particular fight. Friends later believed it was a combination of everything that had been building for months, old disagreements that never healed. Whatever began the argument, it became one of the last conversations Stephen would ever have. During the dispute, Stephen picked up his phone and called a close friend. What he said during that call would later become one of the most haunting moments in the entire case. "If anything happens to me, look at Sierra first." It sounded less like a passing comment and more like a desperate warning, almost as if Stephen already knew he was in danger. Eventually, the shouting stopped. The apartment became quiet. Believing the worst was finally over, Stephen went to bed. He had no way of knowing that he would never wake up again. Sometime during the night, while Stephen slept, prosecutors say Sierra made a decision that would change countless lives forever. Her young daughter was only a few steps away, asleep in the living room. According to investigators, Sierra retrieved a .357 Magnum revolver. She walked into the bedroom, and as Stephen lay asleep, completely unable to defend himself, she pulled the trigger. In a single moment, his life was over. But investigators say the tragedy did not end there. Instead of calling 911, instead of asking for help or admitting what had happened, Sierra began trying to hide the crime. But there was one problem. Sierra realized she couldn't move Stephen's body on her own. It was too heavy. So she decided to do something only a sick person would do. According to court records, Sierra got a machete and Stephen's remains were separated. Then she wrapped them up with sheets. She then placed them into multiple trash bags, sealed the bags with tape, and later discarded them in dumpsters around their apartment complex. Some of those remains would eventually be transported to a landfill in Chambers County, along with the city's regular waste. By sunrise, Stephen Coleman had vanished. His family didn't know where he was. His friends couldn't reach him, and no one yet realized that one of Baytown's most disturbing homicide investigations had already begun. After disposing of Stephen's remains, Sierra wasn't finished. According to investigators, she returned to the apartment with one goal: to erase every trace of what had happened. Prosecutors say she began cleaning the apartment from top to bottom. Body fluids were scrubbed away with bleach. The mattress was flipped over in an apparent attempt to hide visible evidence. Every surface she could reach was carefully wiped down. It wasn't the behavior of someone in shock. It looked like someone trying to make a crime disappear, which raises a difficult question. Was this something she had planned, or was she desperately trying to avoid being caught after making a terrible decision? Whatever the answer may be, the days that followed would leave investigators stunned. If the murder itself was horrifying, what happened afterward revealed an even more disturbing level of deception. On August 18th, just 2 days after Stephen disappeared, Sierra reached out to his mother, Cora Coleman. She sounded worried, confused, and almost desperate. She claimed she hadn't been able to get hold of Stephen, and even showed people text messages that appeared to have been sent from his phone. To everyone around her, she looked like a frightened girlfriend searching for answers. Donald Wooten, one of Stephen's neighbors who had been concerned about not seeing him for a while, decided to ask Sierra his way about. However, she gave him a suspicious response.
I asked her about him, and she seemed kind of shocked. She goes, "Why are you asking me that?" I said, "Well, I heard that he was missing for a while." And she kind of carried on like she didn't know anything about it.
Still appearing calm and composed, Sierra walked into the Baytown Police Department and officially reported Stephen as a missing person. She played the role perfectly. She cried. She expressed concern. She acted like someone desperately hoping the man she loved would come home. But investigators would later uncover a chilling truth. According to police, those text messages hadn't been sent by Stephen at all. Detectives say Sierra used Stephen's own phone after his death, sending messages to herself in an attempt to create the illusion that he was still alive. It was, prosecutors argued, a carefully constructed timeline designed to throw investigators off the trail. And somehow, the deception went even further. Stephen's grieving family welcomed Sierra into their home, She sat beside Cora Kalema. She comforted Stephen's brother. She even joined search efforts, pretending to look for the very man investigators say she had already killed. For a short time, people believed her. Friends felt sorry for her, just like this neighbor.
She acted like she knew nothing about anything. She was trying to call him. She hadn't heard from him. No response.
But investigators believe Sutton knew something all along.
She wasn't who she tried to play off being.
They say after an argument, Sutton shot Coleman in the head while he was sleeping and her 10-year-old daughter was in the living room. Then she dismembered his body with a machete, putting his remains in multiple nearby dumpsters.
I walk to that dumpster right there every day.
The trash from these dumpsters is eventually taken to the Baytown landfill. It was there where investigators say Coleman's remains were eventually found. On his Facebook page, they're a happy couple. He calls her his ride or die.
They've always been smiles.
Donald Wooten knew them both pretty well. He was their neighbor.
It's still hard to believe, it really is. Because I look at her, she's a young girl, she's pretty in the face. You just don't see it. You don't see it in her.
But even he couldn't have known what investigators say would happen in apartment 302.
Even investigators initially treated her as a worried girlfriend searching for answers. But while Sierra continued playing her part, detectives quietly began testing every piece of her story. Investigators retraced Stephen's final known movements. They examined phone records, digital activity, and surveillance footage from Stephen's apartment in Baytown. The more evidence they collected, the less Sierra's story made sense. Then came the breakthrough that changed everything. In the surveillance footage, detectives obtained surveillance from the apartment complex. Instead of showing unknown suspects entering or leaving the apartment, the cameras showed something very different. According to investigators, Sierra was alone inside the apartment throughout the hours she claimed Stephen was last seen alive. There were no mysterious visitors. Instead, the footage allegedly showed Sierra moving back and forth during the early morning hours, carrying large bags and making repeated trips as she cleaned the apartment. When detectives retraced her steps, they didn't just find blood, they found receipts and other supplies purchased right after Stephen's death. Prosecutors later argued these weren't innocent household items. They were part of a calculated plan to scrub away a crime. And then came the footage. Cameras inside the home revealed her moving from room to room, scrubbing surfaces with bleach, working methodically to wipe away every trace of what had happened. It wasn't the frantic chaos of someone in shock. It looked deliberate. She had flipped the mattress, trying to cover the bloodstains that had soaked all the way through. Prosecutors leaned hard on this in court. They told the jury it wasn't the behavior of someone horrified by what had happened. It was the behavior of someone determined to cover it up. Someone who believed she could scrub away the truth. With every new piece of evidence, the picture became clearer. The missing person case was no longer a mystery. It had become a homicide investigation, and detectives were closing in on the person they believed had been lying from the very beginning. Meanwhile, detectives began digging into Sierra's phone. What they found made their blood run chill. Her search history showed frantic late-night queries about how to clean body fluids from mattresses and how to scrub carpets. Digital evidence was already painting a disturbing picture, and on August 20th, the physical nightmare finally caught up with it. Sanitation workers were using tractors in a Chambers County landfill to push garbage. When they discovered a torso, they immediately informed their supervisor, who in turn called the police. The police were baffled. They had a torso, but no identity, no name, no face. Just a body, discarded among piles of garbage. And while investigators worked to piece together who this man was, Houston residents were fleeing the area. Dental records and forensic testing confirmed the worst. The remains belonged to Stephen Coleman, rapper Slim Da Don. Forensic investigators determined his death was sudden.
Frightening new details about the disappearance and murder of a Baytown man last seen in August. According to court documents, Sierra Alexis Sutton fatally shot her boyfriend Stephen Coleman in the head as he slept after an argument. She allegedly cut his body up with a machete because he was too heavy to carry before dumping his remains in various dumpsters. Investigators say a woman matching Sutton's appearance was caught on surveillance camera using Coleman's credit cards after he disappeared. She allegedly bought duct tape and a mattress pad that may have been used in the disposal of his remains. Investigators are working to determine if a male torso found in a Chambers County landfill landfill that receives trash from dumpsters in Baytown.
Stephen never had a chance to defend himself. Meanwhile, Sierra, who by now knew the police were getting close to her, fled Texas. She crossed state lines heading east. She stopped cooperating with investigators and ignored their calls. Detectives later admitted that if sanitation workers hadn't stumbled on that torso, it might have been impossible to recover. The landfill was a mountain of debris, and once buried, Stephen's body could have vanished forever. On August 22, 2017, just days after the discovery of the remains, authorities caught up with Sierra Sutton in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, after they received a tip of where she had been hiding there. They also got information from family and friends that Sierra had told them what she had done to Stephen. She was taken into custody without incident, maintaining the same eerie, detached calm that had characterized her entire deception. Extradited back to Texas, Sierra was charged with first-degree murder and tampering with evidence, held on a $1 million bond.
A woman is under arrest accused of killing her boyfriend and dismembering his body with a machete. He was last seen at his apartment on James Bowie Drive back in August. Channel 2's Bill Spencer joins us live from Baytown tonight with this story. Bill?
Jonathan, we're joining you live from right in front of the Briarwood Village Apartments, where Sierra Alexis Sutton is accused of shooting her boyfriend to death in the middle of the night while he was sleeping, but that is not all of it. According to court documents obtained by Channel 2 Investigates, she then hacked his body to pieces using a machete and then distributed those pieces to dumpsters inside that complex. What Baytown police say happened at the top of these stairs in apartment 302 is enough to chill your soul.
Girlfriend's wife put him in his head and then cut his pieces of his body.
Man, it's sad though, man. How can you just somebody up like that?
Now, 30-year-old Sierra Alexis Sutton stands charged with murder, accused of shooting her live-in boyfriend, Stephen Coleman, in the head while he was sleeping, and then chopping his body into pieces with a machete and dumping parts of his body into the dumpsters at her apartment complex. Neighbors say the couple had been seen fighting several times before.
They were like in the middle of the parking lot, kind of, and he had her pinned down.
Pinned down on the ground, what was he doing?
He had a belt around her neck.
But investigators say on August 16th, Stephen Coleman suddenly disappeared. Several days later, Donald Wooten says he spoke to Sierra Sutton directly and asked her what had happened to her boyfriend.
I asked her about him, and she seems kind of shocked. She goes, "Why are you asking me that?" I said, "Well, I heard that he was missing for a while." And she kind of carried on like she didn't know anything about it.
Now, Baytown police have discovered the torso of a man found at a Chambers County landfill. They've discovered traces of blood on the bedroom floor, and they've interviewed several witnesses who say Sierra Sutton admitted to them she killed her boyfriend after an argument and then cut up his body because she said she could never carry it in one piece because it was just too heavy to lift. Now, days after Stephen Coleman disappeared, neighbors tell me they saw Sierra Sutton in the middle of the night cleaning out his apartment, taking out all of the furniture with a couple of other men. She even tried to sell some of that furniture to some of her neighbors. Tonight, she sits behind bars charged with murder. Live in Baytown, Bill Spencer, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
The legal process concluded in February 2019, when Sierra Sutton was formally convicted and sentenced to 45 years in prison. Under the terms of the verdict, she would be required to serve at least 22.5 years behind bars before even becoming eligible for parole. The courtroom verdict brought a measure of legal accountability, but for Cora Coleman and the Baytown music community, the pain remained immeasurable. Assistant District Attorney Lauren Bard stood before reporters after the verdict, her words carrying the weight of both justice and grief. She explained that justice has been served, but she doesn't think Stephen's victim's family can ever feel like there is enough justice. At the end of the day, an offender is still walking around, and their loved one isn't. That statement captured the paradox at the heart of the case. Yes, Sutton had been convicted. Yes, she had been sentenced. But for Stephen Coleman's family, no punishment could balance the scales. Their son, their brother, their loved one was gone forever, and the courtroom could not give him back. Lauren also revealed something that unsettled everyone who had sat through the trial. Even during the victim impact statements, those raw, emotional moments when family members spoke directly about their pain, Sierra showed no remorse, no apology, no flicker of regret. She sat silent, stone-faced, while Stephen's family poured out their grief. As far as motive, Lauren explained the working theory. Investigators believed Sierra had snapped after discovering Stephen was allegedly cheating, but instead of owning up to what she had done, she tried to blame it on others. The lie was almost as chilling as the crime itself. It was a story that didn't match the forensic evidence, didn't match the digital trail, and didn't match the reality investigators had already pieced together. It was a desperate attempt to shift blame, but it only underscored her guilt, and Lauren's perspective carried weight. She wasn't new to homicide cases. She had prosecuted several murders before, even cases involving dismemberment, but she admitted this one was different. This was the worst she had ever encountered. The brutality of the act, the coldness of the cleanup, and the lack of remorse combined into a case that left even seasoned prosecutors shaken. The memorial services for Stephen Coleman were never just about mourning, but to confront the painful truth about domestic abuse and toxic relationships. What began as a tribute to his burgeoning talent transformed into a powerful community statement, a reminder that violence often hides in plain sight, behind closed doors, in the silence of homes. Stephen's friends made sure his voice didn't vanish. They listened to the raw vocal stems, the unfinished tracks from Finally Rising, treating them like sacred artifacts. Each verse, each beat, was proof of the artist he fought so hard to become. His music lived on, even when he couldn't.
It's like nobody tries. That's why nobody buys anymore. It's still in stores. Let me know, where did the music go?
Right here, real music for the real niggas. That fake shit been played like ill figure. I know you're tired of the lies and disguises. They ain't riders, them niggas just ride dick. Yeah, see me, I make live hits. Yeah, that word to the wise shit. Yeah. I work to provide Miss Sanaya with whatever she desire. My firstborn, know your daddy going lurk for it and bring it home. Soul music keep me hanging on. I'm about to lose grip with these clowns false preaching on the pulpit. Take a seat round. Real know it's on. So y'all call that fake shit real, know you're wrong. I'm appealing your songs, nigga, with a jury full of niggas that done it. 100. If not, don't run it. Don't run it, man.
Where can I find you? Don't even listen to the radio.
Don't even listen to the
Yes,
radio.
nobody tries. That's why nobody buys anymore. It's still in stores. Let me know, where did the music go?
What a motherfucking music, yo. Whoa, no heartfelt music, no soul. It's like it's all glitter and glamour. Everybody claiming they sitting in phantom. Pointing middle fingers, bitches and cameras. Yeah, I flow concrete, thick as enamel. Yeah. One of the few left. Yeah. The other few left. They in a better place. I meet you at heaven's gate. Rest in peace. My life is a testimony. Lord. I used to cut school, fuck lessons, homie. Lord. That attitude shook that shit off me. Grown ass.
The tragedy of Stephen Slim Don Coleman is more than just a story of a life cut short. It's a haunting reminder of how quickly trust can turn fatal. Domestic violence doesn't always announce itself with shouting matches in public. Sometimes it's quiet, hidden, fueled by jealousy, insecurity, and control. And when it erupts, the damage is irreversible. Stephen's legacy carries a warning that echoes far beyond Baytown, Texas. It's a plea to listen to your instincts, to recognize the red flags before it's too late, and to make sure victims of toxic control have a safe place to turn. His story is not just about loss, it's about awareness, about the responsibility we all share to protect those who may be suffering in silence. Now I'd like to ask you, does a prison sentence ever truly balance the scales for families who have lost someone to violence? Or is closure an illusion? Leave your comments down below.
Yo, what's up? It's your girl Lada. I'm tapping in with y'all, telling y'all my new single Lil Bitch just dropped on all streaming platforms. Make sure y'all go check that out on YouTube, Apple Music, or Spotify, wherever you want to go to listen to it. My EP will be dropping soon. Make sure y'all check that out too. Just stay tuned. I love y'all.
Asking God, please forgive me for my sins. In my bands, talking to myself like Lada, we gon' win. Lost it all and got it back, and now I do it all again. You know I'm different, had to switch it cause these bitches ain't my friends. Don't call me bougie cause I fuck around and still be in the hood. If they let me beat myself, I promise we gon' still be good. Praying for a new soul, praying for a new pole. Let a nigga try me, I'ma turn him to a new ghost.
On July 21, 2023, the body of a popular rapper was found in Cleveland's Slavic Village, near East 64th Street and Francis Avenue, dumped like trash by her very own boyfriend. Just hours earlier, she had been celebrating her birthday week, sharing her music and joy with fans and loved ones. What should have been a season of happiness turned into a haunting silence when family and friends could no longer reach her. A welfare check at her Bedford apartment revealed troubling signs of violence, clues that pointed to something much darker. The last person known to be with her was her boyfriend, Michael Roarty Nunt. His sudden disappearance deepened the mystery. What really happened in those final hours remains a chilling question, one that would soon unravel in devastating fashion. Before we begin, condolences go out to the family and friends of Bernicia Lightfoot. Known to many as Ada, she was a daughter, a sister, a rising artist, and a community leader. She deserved a full and bright future, not an untimely end. May her memory continue to inspire those who loved her, and may her story serve as a reminder of the importance of protecting women from violence. This is the life and death of Bernicia Lightfoot.
It's your girl Alada. We out here in Cali taking pictures. It's a big day for the EP. Working hard. I hope you guys like it.
Young fly bitch, let me pop my shit. Pop my shit. Young fly bitch, let me pop my shit. Walking this bitch with my hand on the trigger. Mama told me that you gotta think bigger. I'm a rich bitch, so I need a rich nigga. Hold up, let me pop my shit.
This case takes us to Cleveland, Ohio. A city with a rich cultural heritage, it's known as the birthplace of rock and roll and home to a thriving music scene that has produced artists across genres. Cleveland carries a reputation for resilience, its people proud, its neighborhoods full of history. Yet like many major cities, it has also struggled with challenges of crime and poverty. Some areas are vibrant centers of art and culture, while others are marked by violence and hardship. It was in this setting that a young rapper, full of promise and potential, built her life and career. But it was also in the same city that her life would be taken far too soon. Bernicia Lightfoot was born on July 19, 1997, in Cleveland, Ohio. From the beginning, she was known as hardworking, determined, and gifted. Those who knew her often spoke of her intelligence and her relentless drive. Even as a teenager, Bernicia carried herself with a sense of maturity beyond her years. By the age of 18, she was already working in factories alongside older men, proving that she could handle challenges head-on and build her own path in life. Education and work formed only part of her identity. Her true passion was music. Under the name Ada, she began recording and performing, capturing attention with her raw talent and ambition. Her social media presence quickly grew, and with over 23,000 fans following her online, she was emerging as one of Cleveland's rising rap voices. To her listeners, Ida represented resilience and independence. Her lyrics reflected both her struggles and her determination, and fans connected with the authenticity she brought to her art. But music was not the only stage where she left her mark. She was also deeply committed to her community. She trained under mentor Alish Secor and joined the Wolfpack Gunshot Response Team in Cleveland, a group focused on teaching first aid techniques that could save lives in the moments after shootings and other acts of violence. It was demanding work, requiring both knowledge and composure, but she embraced it wholeheartedly. For her, making music and helping others weren't separate callings. They were two sides of the same mission: to bring strength and healing to a community often scarred by violence. Her mother described her as not only intelligent and hardworking, but also generous and deeply caring. These qualities made her a pillar of support for her friends and a role model for younger people in her neighborhood. She wasn't just pursuing fame or recognition, she wanted to uplift others and use her voice for good. Still, while Bernicia's life was full of promise, her personal world was complicated. She was in a relationship with 26-year-old Michael Roarty Nunt. In the beginning, their bond seemed steady, even hopeful, something she believed she could build on while pursuing her music and community work.
I don't even know why I'm tripping. If I want to mess with the smoke, dog. Hey, who is that?
It ain't them niggas that act hard.
Oh!
This is that dirty man. I put him on a Superman, watch him get loose. When bitches come through, I tell them bring that girl too. That's why the big juice bring it like
To outsiders, the two looked like a typical young couple, sharing laughter and milestones. But as time went on, the cracks were harder to ignore. Michael Rorty Nugent was no stranger to the justice system. For nearly a decade, his name appeared in court records tied to domestic violence, drug charges, and weapons offenses. Each case added to a long trail of trouble, painting the picture of a man who lived in the shadow of crime and volatility. He wasn't the kind of person people described as stable or safe. He carried a history that made him dangerous to those around him. Even in jail, his life was marked by conflict. In 2020, Rorty Nugent went so far as to file a civil rights lawsuit claiming he had been pepper sprayed and assaulted by corrections officers while behind bars. Whether inside or outside of custody, chaos seemed to follow him everywhere. His background was a warning sign, a history written in red flags that spoke volumes about the man he truly was. Yet despite this troubled past, Bernicia often brushed those warnings aside, holding on to the hope that love could outweigh them all. Friends and family had seen the strain, and some worried that her choice to overlook those red flags would come at a heavy cost. The tension between Bernicia's ambitions and her relationship with Michael grew sharper as time went on. What had once looked like love now revealed deeper cracks. Behind closed doors, volatility replaced stability, and the image of a happy couple gave way to something far more troubling. As her 26th birthday drew near, the cracks in her relationship felt sharper, a growing tension that cast a shadow over what should have been a joyful milestone. This was something that Bernicia's family noticed, and it was a warning sign that would only become clear later on. For her family and friends, the warning signs would only become clear in hindsight. They were not just ordinary strains of a rocky relationship. They were the unmistakable precursors of the violence that would ultimately take her life and silence her voice forever. On July 18, 2023, the unthinkable happened. That day, Bernicia's 26th birthday had arrived, a moment that should have been filled with joy, celebration, and new beginnings. Instead, it marked the beginning of a chilling disappearance. Family and friends expected to hear from her, to see her posts and pictures as she had done in past years. But as the hours turned into a full day with no word, worry began to spread. When loved ones couldn't reach her, they called for a welfare check at her Bedford apartment. Officers arrived and immediately sensed that something was wrong. Inside, they discovered troubling evidence: dried blood and bullet holes, indications that violence had erupted within those walls. Outside, in the yard of a nearby home, her phone was found abandoned, a chilling clue that only deepened the mystery. The discoveries left neighbors uneasy, and soon their recollections began to surface. Some recalled hearing loud commotion and even what sounded like gunshots. Others claimed to have seen Michael Rorty Nugent dragging what appeared to be a body wrapped in cloth down the apartment stairs. Each account added weight to the growing suspicion that something tragic had occurred inside those walls. With mounting concerns, investigators quickly shifted their focus to Michael. He was the last person known to be with her, and now he had disappeared. His absence was more than coincidence. It was a signal that the search for answers was about to take a darker turn. Suspicion tightened around him, as authorities first listed him as a person of interest, then elevated him to a suspect as the evidence continued to grow.
Breaking news out of Bedford, where police have arrested a man but are still looking for his missing girlfriend. We told you yesterday that police checked on Bernicia Lightfoot on Tuesday after family could not reach her for her birthday. They found evidence someone had been injured in her apartment, and her cell phone was found in a Cleveland yard. Police called her boyfriend, Michael Rorty Nugent, a person of interest. Well, now officers say they arrested him today, and charges are pending.
3 days later, on July 21, 2023, the search came to its grim conclusion. Bernicia's body was discovered in Cleveland's Slavic Village, discarded near East 64th Street and Francis Avenue. The location, an area often associated with hardship, only added to the cruelty of the crime. She had been reduced to nothing more than a discarded body. Her life and promise abruptly ended. That same day, police located Michael Rorty Nugent. He was arrested and taken into custody. Investigators revealed that during questioning, Michael confessed to shooting Bernicia on July 17th, just hours before her birthday. He also led police to both her body and the firearm used in the crime. The confession left no doubt about his role in her death, but it did not answer the larger question of why, a question that continues to haunt those who loved her. For Bernicia's family and friends, the arrest brought some clarity but no comfort. They had already lost a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a rising star. Now they were left grappling with the reality that the man who once stood at her side as a partner had been the one to take her life in such a violent and callous way. As the case unfolded in court, the community struggled to reconcile the image of a promising young rapper and advocate with the brutal circumstances of her death. The violence she suffered became not only a personal tragedy, but also a broader reflection of the dangers many women face when red flags in relationships are ignored or minimized. The investigation revealed the depth of the betrayal. What had started as a relationship filled with hope and affection had devolved into control, abuse, and ultimately lethal violence. And while police had their suspect in custody, the scars left on her family and her city would not heal so easily.
5:05 and new this morning, the body of a missing woman was found in Cleveland last night.
Bernicia Lightfoot had been reported missing earlier this week. Bedford police say that they located her body in Cleveland's Slavic Village neighborhood. Police have arrested a man that they have identified as Lightfoot's boyfriend. He has not been charged this morning yet, but police say that charges are pending. Lightfoot had been missing since Tuesday when a family member couldn't get a hold of her. The Bedford Police Department is investigating this.
Michael Rorty-Nunt's arrest sent shockwaves through Cleveland and beyond. In the days that followed, his first court appearance made clear just how serious the charges were. Standing before the judge, a not guilty plea was entered on his behalf,
but the evidence was already overwhelming. His bond was set at $2 million, underscoring the severity of the crime and the danger he posed. The courtroom was filled with Bernicia's family and supporters, their faces reflecting grief and anger at the man who had once been part of her life. During the hearings, prosecutors detailed the chilling chain of events. They explained how police had located Bernicia's phone abandoned near East 59th in Manchester, how neighbors had described hearing gunshots, and how one witness recalled seeing Michael drag what looked like a wrapped body down the apartment stairs. Surveillance footage even placed him in the area where her phone was found, tying him directly to the evidence. The prosecution's case left little room for doubt. As more details came out, the betrayal became even harder for her loved ones to process. Michael was not a stranger or an outsider. He had been her boyfriend, the person closest to her. For those who knew Bernicia, the knowledge that someone she trusted could take her life was devastating. It wasn't just that she had been killed, it was who had done it, and how violently it had been carried out. By early 2024, the legal process reached its conclusion. Michael Rorty-Nugent was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of a human corpse. The charges reflected not only the violence of Bernicia's death, but also the disturbing way in which her body was handled afterward. The judge sentenced him to between 23 and 28 and a half years at Lorraine Correctional Institution, ensuring that he would spend much of his life behind bars. For Bernicia's family and friends, the sentencing brought justice, but not peace. They had watched her grow from a bright, hardworking young woman to a rapper with growing recognition and a community advocate whose work saved lives. They had seen her balance factory jobs with music and service, and they had celebrated her determination to rise above challenges. Now, instead of seeing her future unfold, they were left mourning the future that had been stolen from her. Her mentor and colleagues in the Wolfpack gunshot response team spoke of her dedication, how she had inspired others and connected with children in ways that made a real difference. Fellow artists remembered her talent, her energy, and her drive. Community members grieved the loss of someone who carried both promise and purpose. Bernicia's absence was felt deeply, not only in music, but in the neighborhoods where she had worked and given her time. Even as the case closed in court, the conversation it sparked remained open. Bernicia's story became part of a larger dialogue about the dangers of ignoring warning signs in relationships, about the need for stronger systems to support victims of abuse, and about the devastating consequences when violence escalates unchecked. Her death was a painful reminder that behind every statistic and every case number is a life cut short, a family left broken, and a community forever changed. As we reflect on Bernicia Lightfoot's life, we remember her not only as a victim of violence, but as a vibrant young woman with talent, drive, and compassion. Her story is a call to action, to listen when someone speaks of danger, to intervene when warning signs appear, and to protect those who may be at risk. Rest in peace, Bernicia Lightfoot. May your music, your work, and your memory continue to inspire others to fight for change and to stand against the violence that ended your life too soon. What do you think about this tragic case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss future true crime stories. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.